The bright screens in the Galactic Council monitoring station flickered with data from 1,000 worlds. Frank Miller yawned and rubbed his tired eyes. His midnight shift watching over human space was usually the busiest in the galaxy. Humans never stopped talking. For 200 years, humans had been the loud neighbors of the galaxy. They argued, traded, explored, and built colonies everywhere. Their ships zipped between stars while their messages filled every communication channel. Some older alien species found them annoying, but everyone agreed. Humans brought life to the quiet corners of space. Then suddenly, the screens went dark. At first, Frank thought his equipment was broken. He tapped the displays and checked the connections. "That's strange," he muttered, running another scan. "All human channels are down." Linka, his blue-skinned assistant with 4 eyes, looked up from her station, perhaps a solar flare from their sun. Frank shook his head. "No, this is different. Every human channel is silent. Not just Earth, but all their colonies too." He pressed the emergency button. Within minutes, the monitoring room filled with officials from different species. They checked and rechecked the equipment. Everything worked perfectly. The humans had simply gone quiet. "I've worked this station for 15 years, Frank told his worried supervisor. "I've never known humans to shut up for more than a few hours. Something is very wrong." By the next day, the silence became the only topic in council space. Ships sent to human colonies found empty buildings and deserted streets. Food still sat on tables, as if everyone had stood up in the middle of dinner and walked away. On Centauri Prime, the human embassy stood empty. Ambassador Ellen Wright, a strong woman with gray hair who had represented Earth for many years, had vanished with her entire staff. Their computers were wiped clean. Their personal belongings were gone. In the Grand Council chamber, with its high ceiling and seats for representatives from 1,000 worlds, emergency meetings began. The older council members seemed relieved at first. "Finally, some peace and quiet," growled Ambassador Earl of the rock-like granites. But Council Elder Zigsaw, oldest of the jellyfish-like Medusans, silenced such talk with a wave of his glowing tentacles. "Do not celebrate," he warned, his voice deep and bubbling. The humans were loud and messy, yes, but they also kept order in many parts of our galaxy. They stopped pirates. They settled fights between other species. They shared food with hungry worlds. He paused, his body pulsing with worried light. "Their silence is not good news." Admiral Pete Johnson, the highest-ranking human in the council fleet, was called to explain. But when guards went to his quarters, they found them empty. His uniform hung neatly in the closet. His medals were arranged on the desk. But the admiral was gone. By the 3rd day, the council began to worry about attack. Had some unknown enemy destroyed humanity? Special teams in protected ships carefully entered Earth's solar system. They found Earth peaceful and intact. Cities stood undamaged under blue skies. Fields were green and healthy, but not a single human remained. All across human space, the story was the same. Billions of humans had disappeared without a trace. They left behind their buildings, their farms, and most of their belongings. But they took all their ships, their weapons, and their secrets. In a forgotten file, buried deep in the council archives, a junior clerk found a human saying that now sent chills through the council chamber. "Beware the fury of a patient man." What no one in the council understood yet was that humanity hadn't been attacked or destroyed. They had chosen to leave. After decades of careful planning, every human in the galaxy had disappeared on purpose. And the galaxy would soon learn why. 2 weeks passed. The silence of humanity grew louder with each day. Small problems appeared first, then bigger ones. The galaxy began to shake. On the mining world of Kepler-4, factory workers stood idle beside silent machines. The boss, a tall insect-like alien named Zreet, paced nervously. "Where is Steve?" He clicked his mandibles in frustration. "Steve Douglas always brings our minerals on the first day of the month. Always. For 12 years, Steve, a friendly human with a gray beard, ran the biggest supply company in the outer systems. His ships carried rare minerals that factories needed to make everything from starship parts to medical tools. Now those ships were gone. Factories on 6 different planets had to shut down. Workers lost jobs. People couldn't get the things they needed. In the council meeting hall, leaders from many worlds argued loudly. Some saw a chance to grab power now that humans were gone. Their colonies are empty. We should take their planets, growled the ambassador from the Dravic Imperium, a war-loving empire that had always hated humans. But others worried. Without human ships keeping the peace, pirates attacked more trading vessels. Without human traders, prices for food and medicine shot up. Without human diplomats, old enemies started fighting again. Patricia Winters, a sharp-eyed council investigator with short red hair, walked through empty human towns on the planet Proxima b. The houses stood clean and neat. Clothes hung in closets. Food supplies were gone. Family photos were missing from walls. She tapped notes into her computer as she explored the silent streets. This was planned, she told her team. Look at how orderly everything is. They didn't run in fear. They left on purpose. Her scanner beeped as she found a small child's toy under a bed. A teddy bear in a tiny spacesuit. They took what mattered most and left the rest, she said, placing the toy on a shelf. But why? At the edges of human space, Council scout ships discovered something alarming. Giant defense platforms floated in space, machines bigger than buildings with powerful weapons. These platforms had always been there, cleverly hidden as research stations or repair docks. Now they were active, forming a wall around all human territory. When a Council military ship tried to pass through, bright warning shots flashed across its bow. The automated defense gave no answer to calls, simply pointing its guns until the ship retreated. In his private chamber, Council Elder Morin sat in deep thought. His species, the Lorians, could sometimes sense feelings across great distances. Their pale skin glowed softly in the dim light as they meditated. I sense no fear from the humans, he told the council leaders. No panic, no defeat. He opened his large purple eyes. I sense purpose, determination, resolve. What does it mean? Asked a worried ambassador. Moran's face grew serious. When a noisy neighbor suddenly goes quiet, they are not usually sleeping. They are usually planning something big. Across the galaxy, those who had worked closely with humans began to worry. Humans had never been as simple as they appeared. Under their friendly smiles and messy emotions, they had always been watchers and planners. The question now became clear. What had humanity been planning all this time? And why had they chosen this moment to disappear? In the darkness beyond the defense platforms, something was happening. Something big that humanity had kept secret for a very long time. 1 month without humans changed everything. The galaxy felt their absence like a missing tooth. On the busy trading world of New Singapore, money changers shouted bad news in crowded streets. The galactic credit, used to buy and sell things across the stars, had lost nearly a third of its value. Without human banks to keep things stable, markets fell into chaos. 500 credits for a loaf of bread, yelled an angry shopper. Last week it was 50. People fought over food. Store owners locked their doors. Police in heavy armor patrolled the streets. In space, the trouble was worse. Captain Gorn of the trading ship Lucky Star huddled with his frightened crew as pirate vessels circled them like hungry sharks. The humans kept these routes safe, he whispered. Their patrol ships were everywhere. Now the pirates rule the space lanes. His first mate nodded fearfully. 3 ships attacked just yesterday. No one survived. Far away, on 3 border worlds, old enemies who had lived in peace thanks to human diplomats now fired weapons at each other across disputed lands. Smoke rose from burning towns. Refugees fled with whatever they could carry on their backs. In the main council military base, General Alan Foster cleaned out his desk. His human face looked tired but determined as he packed his medals and family photos into a small box. A young alien officer watched from the doorway. "You're leaving too, sir. Every human in the fleet has resigned this week." General Foster nodded. "Orders are orders, son." "But who gave the orders?" "The council didn't." The general just smiled sadly and walked out, leaving his uniform folded neatly on the desk. In the emergency response center, council members argued loudly as reports of new problems flooded in from all directions. The giant screens on the wall showed red alert warnings from dozens of worlds. Diplomat Thilavine, an elegant alien with silver skin who had worked with humans for 50 years, raised her voice above the noise. "Listen to me. This is not random. Humans never retreat without a plan." Her eyes flashed with worry. "I studied Earth history. When humans go quiet and pull back, they are always preparing to strike." Some council members laughed. "Strike? With what?" asked a smug politician. "They've abandoned their colonies. They've given up." Thilavine shook her head. "No, they're gathering their strength." On Gateway Station, a huge spaceport where ships from 100 worlds docked each day, engineer Jack Robinson loaded the last of his tools into his small ship. His neighbor, an alien shopkeeper, helped him carry a heavy box. "Why are all you humans leaving?" the shopkeeper asked. "What's happening?" Jack looked at his friend with something like pity in his eyes. "Stock up on food and medicine," he said quietly. "Things are going to get very interesting soon." Then he was gone, his ship joining thousands of others heading to unknown destinations. Across the galaxy, things humans had built started to break down without them. The quantum communication network that allowed instant messages between worlds developed strange glitches. No one knew how to fix it. The humans who designed it had vanished. On the very edge of explored space, Council survey ships spotted strange energy readings coming from systems humans had visited years ago. Places everyone thought were empty now glowed with mysterious power. Something was waking up out there in the darkness. Something big that humans had built in secret, piece by piece, year after year, while pretending to be less than they were. The trembling had begun. Soon it would become an earthquake. 2 months of silence ended with a bang. The scout ship Aurora limped into Rigel Station, its hull scorched by weapons fire. Captain Vex stumbled from the smoking vessel, his scales pale with fear. "Something's out there," he gasped to the waiting officials. "Something big." His ship had been studying an old human mining area when strange energy readings pulled them toward a nearby asteroid belt. What they found shocked them. "Construction yards," Captain Vex said, hands shaking as he showed the images, hidden inside the asteroids. Massive. Building. Things. The pictures showed huge shipyards carved into the asteroids. Robot workers moved across metal frames the size of small moons. Powerful energy shields hid these bases from casual scans. Only the Aurora's accidental pass through a sensor gap revealed the truth. "How long has this been here?" demanded a council official. "Years," Vex whispered. "Maybe decades." That same day, Dr. Nancy Bell spoke up. She was one of the few humans who stayed behind when the others left. A small woman with kind eyes but a strong voice. She worked as a scientist studying alien animals. No one had paid much attention to her before. Now, as her message played on screens across the galaxy, everyone listened. "For generations, my people have been building," she said, her face calm but serious. "While we traded with you, argued with you, and lived among you, we were preparing. The mining operations, the exploration missions, the scientific studies, all part of something bigger." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "You thought we were disorganized, scattered, weak. We let you think that on purpose." Council investigators rushed to check her claims. What they found stunned them. Human exploration ships had visited thousands of star systems over the years. Each trip seemed random, just humans being curious. But when the visits were mapped together, a clear pattern emerged. They had carefully studied every resource, every strategic point in the galaxy. Even more surprising were the science journals. For years, humans had freely shared their research with other species, but Council scientists now discovered that the really important discoveries had been kept secret. What humans shared was impressive, but basic. Their best technology had been hidden from everyone. In a private meeting, Council Elder Zixaw floated in his water tank, his tentacles waving with agitation as he reviewed the evidence. "Extraordinary," he bubbled. "The humans have been fighting with one hand tied behind their backs all this time." His assistant looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means," Zixaw explained, "that when humans lost battles, when they made poor trades, when they gave up territory, they did it on purpose. They were never showing their true strength." Far away on the frontier world of New Montana, search teams found something important in an abandoned human research lab. A security guard accidentally touched a hidden panel, revealing a secret room filled with computer banks. The data inside shocked even the most experienced Council scientists. It contained designs for technologies no one had ever seen before, engines that could bend space in new ways, energy weapons that could cut through any known shield, medical tools that could rebuild entire bodies. "This is centuries ahead of current Council tech," whispered a scientist, scrolling through the files with wide eyes. "It's like they've been living in the future all this time." As word spread, fear grew. If human mining operations were actually massive shipyards, if their explorers were actually strategic planners, if their scientists had technologies no one else could match, what were they planning to do with all this power? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. 3 months after they disappeared, the humans decided to speak again. It happened suddenly. On every screen, on every planet, on every ship across the galaxy, the same message appeared. "The demonstration begins at noon, Galactic Standard Time. Please observe." In the Council emergency room, leaders from 100 worlds gathered around the main view screen. No one spoke. Some didn't even breathe. "What demonstration?" whispered an aide, but no one answered. When the clock struck noon, space itself seemed to tear open. Massive ships appeared everywhere at once. They came through hyperspace, jumps so precise that they arrived at exactly the same second at key points throughout the galaxy. These weren't the simple, boxy human ships everyone knew. These vessels were sleek, dark, and beautiful in a frightening way. They moved with impossible grace. Energy readings from them broke all known scales. "Battle stations," shouted Admiral Krell of the Council Defense Fleet. Alarm bells rang as ships rushed to protect key worlds. But the human vessels made no attack. They simply held position, floating in space like silent watchers. Their mere presence was the message. The largest human ship, a vessel so big it cast a shadow on the moon it orbited, opened a communication channel. On screens everywhere, Admiral Karen Willis appeared. She wore a simple dark uniform with no marks of rank. She didn't need any to command attention. "For centuries," she said in a calm, clear voice, "humanity has lived under rules that limited us. The Council restricted where we could go, how many ships we could build, what technologies we could develop." She paused. "We accepted these limits because we valued peace. But when the Council recently chose to support the Dravik Imperium against our colonies, we realized this relationship no longer works for us." As she spoke, something amazing happened on worlds that humans had seemed to abandon. Hidden doors opened in mountains. Secret bases activated beneath oceans. What looked like simple farming colonies suddenly revealed massive defense systems that had been hidden under innocent-looking fields and buildings. In the Council chamber, faces turned pale or changed color with fear. What everyone had thought was a human retreat was actually the opposite. Humans had been everywhere, watching and waiting. Now they chose to show themselves. Roy Mendez, a tall man with dark hair, walked into the Council chamber. Guards moved to stop him, then froze as a quiet humming sound came from small devices on his belt. No one dared touch him. "I am the new human ambassador," he said simply, taking the empty human seat at the table. "We have terms." He placed a small disc on the table. It projected a list of demands into the air. "Humanity will return to galactic affairs under new agreements," Roy explained, his voice firm but not unkind. "The limits on our military will end. Our borders will be respected. Our technology remains our own to share or keep as we choose." Elder Zixa studied the human with his large eyes. "And if we refuse these terms?" Roy didn't answer with words. He simply touched a control on his wrist. Outside, above the council world, one of the massive human ships fired a single weapon at an uninhabited moon. The energy beam cut the small moon in half as easily as a knife cuts butter. The message couldn't have been clearer. Humans had never been the noisy, disorganized species they appeared to be. They had been patient planners playing a very long game. And now, they were done pretending to be less than they were. The council had no choice but to listen. The days after the humans came back were filled with worry and fear. No one slept well. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. In the great council hall, with its high glass dome showing the stars above, special meetings went on day and night. Leaders argued and shouted. Some wanted to fight the humans. Others thought that would be the last mistake they would ever make. "We must accept reality," said Elder Tuvix, his wrinkled green face sad but determined. "The humans could have destroyed us already if they wanted to." In the end, common sense won. The council had no choice but to accept the human terms. The new agreements were signed with shaking hands. Behind closed doors, in a room so secure that even Fox couldn't escape, Security Chief Keith Howard showed the council elders the full truth about human power. The tall, gray-haired human touched controls on a small device, and the room filled with 3D images of human military might. Massive shipyards hidden in gas clouds where no one thought to look. Weapons platforms disguised as scientific stations. Entire fleets of advanced warships that had been waiting in empty systems for years. "Had we wanted war," Howard said simply, "you would have lost before you knew it had begun." The Dravik Imperium, those war-loving aliens who had been pushing into human space, quickly pulled back their ships when they saw the new human fleet. Space pirates ran to the farthest corners of the galaxy to hide. The Mercantile Guild, which had raised prices when humans disappeared, suddenly offered special discounts on everything. Human representatives returned to their old jobs throughout council space, but they were different now. The friendly, eager humans who used to try so hard to please everyone were gone. In their place were quiet, confident people who spoke less but were heard more clearly. Linda Cooper led the new human diplomatic team. She was a small woman with steady eyes that seemed to see everything. When she spoke in council meetings, even the oldest and most powerful leaders listened carefully. "Humanity values peace and working together," she told the council during her first speech. "But we will never again put our safety or our future at risk. We withdraw when we need to. We watch. We prepare. Remember this." Slowly, humans began to share some of their hidden technologies with other species. They revealed new energy systems that could power entire planets with tiny fuel cells, medical tools that could cure diseases no one else could treat, farming methods that could feed 10 times more people on the same land. But these wonderful technologies weren't free gifts. They came with clear agreements. Humans were no longer just another member of the galactic family. They had become its most powerful civilization. On the space station Harmony, 2 alien merchants watched a human technician install a new power core that would triple the station's energy. "Do you think they planned this all along?" asked the first merchant, pretending to be weaker than they were. The second merchant nodded. "My grandfather worked with the first human traders. He always said there was something strange about them. They lost too easily in some deals, like they were hiding their true skills." The human technician smiled as she worked, hearing everything with ears that were much better than anyone knew. Humans had always been good at listening and learning while others talked. It was just one more secret they had kept. Across the galaxy, a new balance of power took shape. The council still governed, But everyone understood who really held the power now. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year passed. The galaxy found a new normal, but nothing was the same as before. The council still met in its grand chambers. Leaders still debated policies for thousands of worlds. But now, when humans spoke, everyone listened. Joint military exercises showed human ships working with council fleets. The exercises were friendly, but everyone noticed how the human vessels moved faster, hit harder, and saw farther than any other ships. And everyone understood that these were not even the best ships humans had. Kevin Martinez became the most important person in galactic security. A quiet man with dark eyes and a thoughtful face, he headed the new human strategic office. When he entered a room, even the oldest council members stood up. "We've always been watchers," Kevin explained during a special committee meeting. He spoke softly, but his words carried weight. Throughout human history, we learned to expect both the best and worst from others. We always hoped for peace, but we always prepared for war. Across the galaxy, opinions about humans changed dramatically. Species that had laughed at humans as emotional, impulsive, and technologically backward now studied human history with new respect. "How did we miss this?" wondered Professor Xanthar, a respected scholar at the Galactic Academy. The old alien adjusted his glasses as he reviewed centuries of human activities. "They showed us exactly who they were, but we didn't look deep enough." The professor pointed to ancient human battles where smaller forces defeated larger ones through careful planning. He showed how humans had often retreated, regrouped, and returned stronger. The pattern had been there all along. In a famous speech at the Academy, Susan Blackwell, a human historian with silver hair and bright eyes, explained the human perspective. "My people learned long ago that true power isn't about showing off," she told the packed auditorium. "Real strength knows when to be quiet, when to step back, and when to return." After her speech, a young alien student raised a hand. "Were humans afraid the council would attack if we knew how powerful you really were?" Susan smiled gently. "We weren't afraid. We were patient. There's a difference." Throughout council space, the way people saw humans transformed completely. Humans resumed their noisy communications, their busy trading, and their energetic explorations. But now everyone understood that all this activity was just the surface. Beneath it lay something deeper and more deliberate. And beyond the borders of council space, in distant parts of the galaxy, where other species rarely went, humans continued building. New research stations appeared in empty systems. Defensive positions grew stronger. Ships larger than any seen before took shape in hidden shipyards. When questioned about these activities by worried council members, human representatives gave the same simple answer every time. "We're still preparing. We always are." Sometimes, when pressed further, they would add, "There are parts of the universe we haven't explored yet, things we haven't met. Until we know everything that's out there, we keep watching and building." The message to the galaxy was perfectly clear. Humans might talk again, they might trade and work with others, but they would never again be underestimated. Behind their friendly smiles and open hands, they remained the silent watchers, always ready to disappear and return stronger whenever needed. The Galactic Council had learned its lesson. When humanity went silent, the wisest response was to tremble, because their return would change everything. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, humans continued to watch and wait and prepare. For what? Nobody knew. Perhaps not even the humans themselves.